What's up, everybody? It's Scotty here with Flat Track Flashback, and I had to take the glasses off because this ring light, well, I just got to figure out some lighting because these new glasses that I got, the ring light is crazy, and it's just like, oh, it's like extra binoculars. So you have to bear with me on this one because I might be having to squint at my notes a little bit. But here we are. A lot of stuff has gone down in flat track racing over the past few weeks, and we're going to try to touch on some of the bigger moments. We obviously got to talk about Progressive American Flat Track at Lucas Oil Speedway. The rain date for that event, July 18th, from where it's supposed to take place back in June, but just crazy rain. And the forecast over the weekend didn't look stellar either. But man, when it came to race day, clear skies and temperature was definitely up there. But we got a full day of racing in, so we got to talk about that. We also are going to touch on the FIM series, Flat Track Canada. We'll talk about the McGrane and Minor Memorial and took place at Square Deals over the weekend. We're going to probably save the chatter for the Mission Food CTR Flat Track Series event from Peoria Speedway for a separate video later this week or maybe early next week, because there's a lot to chat about from that event as well. And that probably needs to be its own thing because there's some championship battles that are shaping up. And man, I just want to dedicate a specific video for that particular event and that particular series as well. So hey, let's dive into it. Let's dive into Lucas Oil Speedway. I was a little bit bummed about the rider turnout. Only 15 twins, 21 singles. Kind of bummed about that. Yeah, there's a lot of racing going on, and the forecast didn't look stellar for a lot of these teams to go all the way out there. It'd be a little tough, especially on the privateer efforts, and maybe they just want to save the account for when they get to go to Sturgis and race 3 times there during that week. But Lucas Oil is an awesome facility. You look at it's got a great car track there. Sprint cars and late models put on amazing shows at that facility. You've got the little go-kart track there. You've got the off-road course. You got the speedboat pond there on the side. This is a place that drives me up a wall in the World of Outlaws Sprint Cars game, or the World of Outlaws video game that I have, because I'm forever running into a tractor tire or blowing the top line and falling up on that lip and hitting the wall. And it just drives me crazy. It's not one of my better tracks on that game. But thankfully, none of our riders hit a tire. None of the riders got up high on the flat surface and ran into the air fence or the wall. Everybody got through Lucas Oil unscathed. We had a couple of hairy moments, but everybody got out of there okay. And yeah, we've got championship fights taking another round in the books, and we're just over halfway on the season. So let's kick things off. Let's start with the twins class. Really fun to see new names atop the charts there in qualifying in both classes. You got to see in the twins class, Trent Lowe tops the charts and Bronson Bauman right behind him there, P1 and P2 on the day. Trent was looking strong on that Honda all day long. And I was a little bit worried about this track during the day, taking rubber, grooving up there on the bottom. It's sort of the concerns that you see with this, with practice and qualifying taking place so much earlier in the day, and just tracks go through so many changes from daytime how early they run practice and qualifying to these night shows. Generally, they get better. When it came around to the night program, both of those pole sitters on the heat races would have their struggles. Trent, tough draw, had a stacked heat race. He was lined up with 4 of the top 5 contenders in the championship. He had Briar Bauman, Brandon Robinson, Jared Vanderkooi, and Dallas Daniels, who struggled in qualifying, was 9th overall in qualifying, had to start second row of his heat race, just a little off all day on that Estenson Yamaha. When this heat race got going, not the best opening lap for Trent. He found himself all the way back in 4th place while the 2 Harley riders pulled ahead. And Briar was looking really, really strong. He's got these clay car tracks figured out and is really, it's he and Brandon that really come to mind as sort of the best of the guys that are out there right now. These Harleys seem to work really well on those tracks. With Jared Mees retired, where he would have been the favorite coming into this, Briar seems to have taken over the throne here on these shorter clay tracks. And Dallas is no slouch there, but these have been Briar's forte all year with the win in Sonoy and Ventura and Chico. He's looked really, really good on these types of tracks. And he and Brandon take those Harleys, put them in the dash. Vanderkooi comes from 3rd, Trent 4th, and Dallas Daniels all the way back in 5th on this heat race. He was going to start 3rd row of a main event, which is, not the end of the world. We've seen Briar come from 3rd row in Sonoy to win the race, but going to be a tough row for Dallas, having to come from that far back on a track where he was struggling earlier in the day. In the second heat race, Bronson Bauman would meet the similar fate that Trent Lowe did. Bronson's foot kicks out, gets loose. Going into 1 and 2, he falls backwards, gives up wholesale spots, loses out on Davis Fisher, Maxwell, Dan Bromley get around him. And Davis finally was getting some momentum going his way coming into this event. He picked up the big money there at Spoon River, that $10,000 win twins class there in Illinois the weekend prior to Lucas Oil here. So he's looking like he's back in form after a rough span from Lima to DuQuoin. But Fisher gets out front, gets the heat race victory, and behind him, Dan Bromley with a late race pass on Maxwell, who slipped up coming off of turn 4. Bromley's able to put that Suzuki in the Mission Challenge and join Fisher and the 2 Harley riders. When it came to the Mission Challenge race, B-Rob picks up another one of those mission checks, looking good on that Harley and short race speed. They've talked about it even dating back to Lima. Brandon's, been really strong early in these races. Just has struggled to keep the bike there later in these showdowns. But man, these mission challenges, perfect opportunity to pick up a little extra cash there for B-Rob. And he and Breyer were looking good. Breyer started making that sort of like higher line look tempting, look like a possibility later in the night. It seemed like you really needed to keep the bike lower on the track. When you got a little bit off that bottom line, it was doable, but you had to be really patient on the throttle. You could run it in deep, but you had to be strong. You had to hold that bike there in line and be patient on the throttle. Otherwise, it would step out. You'd lose your drive off the corner. A lot of guys were having that happen to them. They were trying to roll a higher line and maybe trying to get on the gas a little early, getting a little excited. Bike would step out. They'd just get in some of the slick stuff. It was a tricky track to figure out throughout the night. Moving into the main event, the Harleys, they get out front early. Breyer and Brandon setting the pace. Breyer gets into the lead, and he starts setting sail. It looked like it was going to be a runaway victory for the number 3. Pulled out to a lead north of over a second and a half, and there was a dogfight behind him between Robinson, Trent Lowe, Davis Fisher, and Dallas Daniels. Catfishing, rolling that hot bottom, getting up through the field, gets into the top 5, gets into the podium battle. Bad news, heartbreak for Brandon Robinson. The bike would let go. He suffers a DNF, which is just brutal for Brandon, who's had such a strong run of podiums and top 5s coming into Lucas Oil, a track that we thought he could be a threat to win at. But unfortunately, the Harley lets go. He has to suffer a 15th place finish on the night, and that would leave Daniels, Fisher, Trent Lowe to battle it out back there, and Daniels able to continue to work his way through the pack, gets into second, and then throws out the fishing lure and starts reeling in Breyer Bauman late in this race. Daniels was able to keep the bike just on the lowest part of that racetrack. His foot was hovering over all the loose dirt that marked the bottom of the track. There was just a darker dirt line that he was able to keep the tires in line on that and just be as low as you can go on the Lucas Oil Speedway. And Breyer a little bit higher at times. And late in the race, especially after the popsicle sticks came out that everybody likes to say when you put the 2 flags up, with 2 laps to go, Breyer, especially coming off the corners, looked a little more twitchy, whereas Dallas was smoother, keeping the wheels in line and was cutting into that lead. And who knows what would have happened with a few more laps. But the sand in the hourglass runs out, and Breyer's able to hold on, pick up another victory, his 5th on the year. And he's done a good job of getting out front, managing races. Maybe that's what he was doing there. Maybe the bike was going away. Who's to say? But nonetheless, Breyer picks up his 5th win on the year. It's one shy of tying his personal best of 6, which he got in 2020 en route to that championship. So we'll see. Breyer and Dallas continue to be the top riders in this field, and they're doing kind of what the likes of Ricky Carmichael and Chad Reed did in Supercross, or Chad Reed and James Stewart would do, where they would just be the only guys winning races on the season. We might see just 2 winners on the year after all. I thought somebody would eventually break through and maybe be the Mike LaRocco of the season or something like that. But yeah, these guys are looking like they might win every single race after all. With that victory, Breyer now 31 career wins. It ties him with number 21, Will Davis, for 10th all-time. Man, just climbing up the charts, having a great year. Breyer, arguably his best year to date. And after the battery dies on him in DuQuoin, he suffers, a horrible 5th. What a horrible finish. But his worst on the season, he bounces right back for a victory there in Lucas Oil and pulls ahead in the championship now, has a 4-point lead over Dallas as we head into the triple header at Sturgis. Davis Fisher gets back on the box and gets right back in that fight for 3rd in the championship. Trent Lowe with a career best 4th place finish, and Jared Vanderkooi finally breaks the string of 7th to come home 5th. And man, this battle for 3rd in the championship is almost as juicy as the battle for the championship, even though that championship far more prestige. But this battle for 3rd, there's just north of 30 points separating 3rd through 9th in the championship standings. And as we head into 2 short tracks and 2 TTs, there could be all sorts of shuffling that happens with those riders in that pack. And we're interested to see how that all comes together when the series does head out to Sturgis. But man, just a dogfight for the championship there in the twins class. Declan Bender comes home with another top 10, and hopefully he gets to keep that ride because he has been so awesome on that OTB racing bike. And also of note, the rider who started the season on that, Brandon Price, he's been cleared to rejoin the series. So be cool to see Brandon back at the track whenever he gets everything set up and is back at the racing surface. We thought he might be done racing, but alas, Brandon Price will be back on the circuit. So is OTB going to have another bike? Are they going to field a 2-rider team? You got to keep Declan on that machine. He's just been so good. Got them a podium, has been in the top 5 a couple of times, and has just looked so good on that bike. We'll see how he fares out there on those short tracks there in Sturgis and the TT as well, whatever that layout's going to look like. On to the singles class, and big ups to Chad Coase, not only the fastest rider in all of qualifying on that First Impressions Husqvarna, but also when the first heat race was set to come out, he was very vocal about the track conditions not being safe, not being ready for competition. He was speaking to officials and really standing up for his fellow competitors, and just really impressed with Chad being able to do that and being willing to do that and doing it to help the riders out. On that warm-up lap, when they were trying to check the track out, Walker Porter goes down, bangs up that Turner Racing Honda bike. They were having to thrash to get that thing together, and Chad was pointing it out to officials. The track was far from ready, and stood up and speaking out, being a voice for the riders, and making sure that track got to a safe spot before they went racing. And it was tricky enough throughout the night. And in that first heat race, Chad does end up holding on to take the victory. Braden Fanders comes home second, and Fanders looks like he's all the way back from that horrible crash at Sonoy. Fanders looks like he's back to full strength and up there competing for dash spots and maybe even podiums and wins later in the year. Who's to say? But Fanders looked good. Cage Tadman put a great move there late in that heat race to get around. Aiden Roos Evans comes home third. This is a track that Cage looked like he could be really strong at to bounce back from that rough night in DuQuoin. In the second heat race, man, that was the stacked heat as well. Top 5 in singles points, all in the same race. Tom Drain, Trevor Bruner, Chase Sadoff, Terrence Santero, Evan Renshaw, all in this heat race. But it would be Tom Drain who got the better of him, kind of making his stamp there. Drain looking for 4 consecutive wins on the season. He's already got a solid lead in the championship, and this would be big for Tom if he could pick up a win on the night. He does prevail and gets one notch in the belt, but it was just a heat race. And he's able to bring Bruner with him to the singles challenge on the night. Really cool thing about the singles challenge, the Flat Track super fan, Dennis Parrish, putting up some money for these singles riders. Again, the singles challenge has not had a consistent sponsor all year. They didn't even have a challenge race in DuQuoin. So the Flat Track super fan, man, we love you, buddy. Thank you so much for being so passionate about the sport and just to step in and help these riders out. That's massive. And the singles guys, they got their challenge race, and Vanders looked good early on, but Trevor Bruner, who's on quite a winning streak right now, he got all that money there at the RPM race in Aledo, picked up the $5,000 to win singles main event at Spoon River, and he picks up some extra money. Blackjack going all in, building the bank account, and takes the victory in that singles challenge on the night, gets one up on the field, and hoping to carry that into that main event. And these singles dash competitors, they would be the main players early in the main event. Tom Drain would get the whole shot, and it was looking like a runaway show for Tom early on. Fanders was locked into second. Great battle with Fanders, Sadoff, and Bruner there for second for a while. Chase was able to roll that high line in a little bit, gets around Fanders, brings Bruner with him. And these two were battling, and it looked like these two going at it was going to allow Tom Drain to cruise home to victory. But in battling, Bruner and Sadoff were reeling in Drain. They were pushing each other forward, and late in the race, they caught Tom. They ran him all the way down. We had 3 riders duking it out for the victory, electrifying the crowd that showed up there at Lucas Oil. A great showing for the singles class. With 2 to go, we had him 3 wide. And throughout this race, Chase seemed to be running higher in 1 and 2, and then he and Bruner would swap blinds going into 3 and 4. Bruner trying a little bit higher line in 3 and 4, but would slip up at times coming off of turn 4 and just not be able to get the drive forward. However, late in the race, again, these riders 3 wide, white flags waving. They're duking it out. The top riders in the singles class racing for the victory. It all comes down to the final corner, the final lap. Bruner runs it in deep, gets on that second groove, or that second line just above Tom, and is able to carry the momentum this time, motors off that final corner, gets the drive he needs, and picks up his first win on the AFT circuit this season. He's been kind of the king of the outlaw events lately, and now he picks up an AFT victory for Turner Racing, their first of the year, and he was stoked. The emotion pouring out of Bruner there at the end of that race. So cool to see him hyped up, and this team has put in a lot of work. They've had a stressful into June with all the repairs they had to make on these bikes, but now Trevor on these car tracks, he can be lethal, and he gets that first victory on the season. Huge for that team, and this is a stretch where Trevor could very well roll off several victories in a row. He's a very aggressive rider, great on short tracks, great on TTs. This could be what he needs to really claw back in and put pressure on Drain in that championship hunt. Drain's able to come home second over Sadoff, does extend his championship lead now to 23 points. That's a full race over second place, and that's big. Behind them, Jared Lowe, replicates, well, I guess Trent technically replicated what Jared did. As Jared comes home fourth, his career best finish there in the singles class, gets around Fanders, who comes home with another top 5 on the season. In the championship right now, we touched on it. Drain up by 23. It's another 12 back to Bruner. And then from 4th to 9th, it's going to get shaken up over the next few races. Terrence Santero still holds on to 4th. A decent ride for Aiden Roos Evans. He comes into 5th in points now, passing Renshaw, who really struggled on the night. Behind them, you've got Braden Fanders, Cage Tadman, Jared Lowe. And Walker Porter puts together another top 10 finish. He's going to be closing in on Hunter Bauer before too long in this championship for top 10 in points. Walker able to bounce back from that crash on that heat race sighting lap to come home with a top 10 finish. Another one for his rookie year. He's looking really, really good. And it'll be interesting to see him now stepping into the short tracks, and we'll see how he does on the TT circuits as well. But yeah, big win, big confidence booster for Bruner, and we'll see if he can continue his winning ways throughout the rest of the summer. The summer of Trevor so far, or at least the month of July has been the month for Trevor, picking up big victories and big cash. Do we change it back to T money? A couple weeks back, Flat Track Canada kicked off their season up in Welland, and it's with heavy hearts they're racing after the incident with Tyler Seguin earlier this year, where he tragically lost his life at the Welland Motorcycle Club. They were able to get their first round underway, and it's so fitting that Taya Little was able to pick up that DTX Expert victory there on the night. Taya's just so close to Tyler, and to pick up that victory was awesome to see Taya on that number 11 machine get the DTX Expert victory there at Flat Track Canada's opening round in Welland. Congratulations, Taya, on that. Justin Jones came home with the Open Expert win on the night, and Hunter Bauer picked up a pair of second-place finishes there at their opening round in Welland. The series now has 4 straight weekends of racing, so Flat Track Canada is going to be popping off there north of the border, starting at Flamborough Downs, which is an awesome track. They've had some incredible footage that we've gotten to see from that facility. That's going to be an epic night of racing there on July 26th, Saturday night. Again, 4 straight weekends of racing. As you see the schedule here, as their championship fires up. It's a short season. Every race counts, and it'll be fun to see which riders show up and look to duke it out there. Also need to give a huge tip of the cap to Liam Caskey, who had a really strong run, a couple of top 5s there in the expert classes there. He's going to be fun to follow. A lot of the top Canadian riders have made their mark when they came down to the States for the Barbara Fritchie Classic, have run rounds there at Square Deal and also at Medina. So the likes of Loic Nadeau and Matteo Racine and Gabriel Bosvert, those are riders to keep an eye on. Jordan Biolak as well. We'll touch on those riders here in a minute. Additionally, international racing going on. FIM Flat Track had their 3rd round in Croatia a couple of weeks ago. We haven't had a chance to talk about it just yet. That race, the first night race of that series on the year, and after heat races, we had Irvin Krajcevic, Tim Neve, and Andrej Svedjic all tied in points, so they got the first 3 picks on the gate. Krajcevic had a really dominating run of heat races. Other than his first ride where he was bested by Gerard Bayo and a couple other riders, I think Krajcevic finished 3rd or 4th in that first race, but then picked up 3 straight wins on his heat race count to bring his total to 24 points through heat races. He's just been so consistent there in that series. He and Svedjic and Neve would be tied on points, get the first picks for that finale race. Sammy Halbert didn't pick up a heat race victory, but still was able to claim consistent rides throughout the night and get 4th in points out of heat, so he gets the 4th pick on the gate. This will be a rough night, though, for Halbert. As the final got underway, Svedjic gets the whole shot, Krajcevic in 2nd. Halbert, not the best start. He's back there in about 5th place. He gets hooked up coming off a turn 4. The bike front wheel stands up. He collides with Tim Neve. They sort of bounce along the front stretch wall before eventually going down, going into 1 and 2. Neve, unfortunately, not able to make the restart. Sammy would be able to bounce back through the road rash, and what would later we find out a broken rib. He had to get checked out at a hospital after the race. Sammy bounces back, gets the restart, was able to fight back for a 5th place finish. On the staggered restart, seemed to be something new for the FIM commentators. They didn't seem too sure what was happening there when they did the staggered restart. But as the race got underway again, Svedjic gets the early lead, but Krajcevic was able to pass him around the outside. And Krajcevic just has a little bit more of that typical flat track style. He's a little bit looser on the bike. Svedjic still a little stiff, has a little bit more of a motocross style to him at times. But Krajcevic able to roll the outside, gets by Svedjic for the lead, and was able to pull away in this race. Svedjic would end up giving up 2nd place to Daniela Tonelli, and these guys sort of replicate the podium that they had at the first round of this series. And Krajcevic's 2nd win on the year. He extends his points lead now 8 ahead of Andrej Svedjic. Tonelli, with Halbert's rough night, moves into 3rd in points. Halbert now sitting 13 back, but he's going to have a lot of work to do to defend that championship overseas and keep that number 1 plate there. on the OnlyFans machine, which, mentioning that, Sammy re-upped his sponsorship we just saw with OnlyFans, so congrats to Sammy on that, and continues to bring amazing content around the sport of flat tracking and keeping us involved in all his adventures and all the racing that goes on over there. Sammy picked up a victory there in Gorzów in Poland, a flat track event that they held at that awesome facility. Hopefully Sammy's able to recover and bounce back and have a strong second half of the season, and we'll see he and Krajcevic, Stejic, Tonelli, and the rest continue to duke it out, and we give all our best wishes to Tim Neve on a full recovery. We spoke about Square Deal Riders. We talked about the McGrane and Minor Memorial that was taking place this weekend in memory of Kyle McGrane and Jamison Minor, two amazing riders who were gone too soon from this earth, and Square Deal Riders honoring them on the weekend. And Square Deal is one of these places that gives me hope for flat track for the years to come, because they get so many riders show up to this place to compete for these events. And we had a packed field in pretty much every class. Those expert fields especially, 16 riders deep in those main events. And Braden Fanders hopped on a 5 a.m. flight out of Missouri to get home to compete in this, hopped on the Hannum's Harley-Davidson Rotax and competed for them. They're one of Braden's main supporters on the air, and Braden made the most of that flight home. Going into 3 and 4 on the opening lap, he was about 3rd or 4th, but passed multiple riders to get right to the front, and Braden would check out, just pulling away every single lap, leaving the likes of Loic Nadeau to battle with Adam Budman Wood and Ryder Reese and the rest of the field throughout the rest of that race. And Budman and Reese would get by Nadeau and have a little battle of their own there for second, but Fanders was checked out and brought home the victory there in the Open Expert class. And you can watch all this racing on Frank Fabricius's YouTube channel. We'll link it, F3 Photos and videos covering all that action that goes on up there in the Northeast. So thankful to have him covering these races so that we can stay up to date with everything that's happening with flat track there in the Northeast. Very special region to me, with my mom's family being from Maryland. I feel like I've touched on that just about every single time I mention District 6 type racing. Fanders wasn't able to sweep the night. Jordan Bolek got the better of him in the 450 Expert main event, but Fanders gave it all he had. This race got red flagged and had to have a restart, and going into 3 and 4 after the restart, Fanders looked like he had both feet off the pegs, was laid over. Don't know how he saved it. Managed to keep that bike upright and hold on for second place, but he was challenged all race long by Budman and Ryder Reese. And Ryder Reese is so fun to watch here. He's got a great style at Square Deal. You can tell he's got plenty of laps there. It's so fun to watch him. He made quite the move by Budman to get into 3rd and almost got around Fanders late. Those two had a battle there earlier in the year that was really fun to watch as well. But so fun seeing just stacked fields there. All the racing you can watch, again, on F3 Photos and Videos YouTube channel. That's going to do it for us this week. Again, we're going to have another video coming out either later this week or early next week to talk about the Peoria Classic, the Mission Food CTR flat track event that was going on up there. We got to speak to Ian Riley last week, and he was flying solo on the commentary there Friday night. Awesome job, Ian, holding it down. There's a lot of excitement around that series as several championships were clinched, but many more are still very much up for grabs. We've got a lot of exciting title fights coming down to the wire. Their last race will be at Mid-Carolina in September, so we'll do a separate video to sort of talk about that event and post that here in the coming days. Whenever there's time for me, we've got so much going on with the Dirt Vision broadcast schedule, and the World of Outlaws Sprint Car Series is loaded up here. Summer is chaotic for all of us, and man, on the broadcast side of things, we're super busy. Kings Royal this past weekend, and then they're at Williams Grove for Summer Nationals this weekend, and the Ironman 55, Knoxville Nationals is right around the corner, and it's just every weekend World of Outlaws racing from February to November when it concludes at World's Finals, right up the street there at the dirt track for me. So yeah, we'll get that Mission Food CTR Flat Track Series Peoria Classic video out sooner than later, hopefully. But man, thank you guys so much for supporting this channel. Please make sure you're following along and supporting those who are creating content around this sport. We're so thankful to have so many people invested in this sport and involved in making sacrifices, whether you're a competitor, a crew member, family member, sponsor, or just a fan. Thank you so much for supporting this amazing sport and bringing it back to life, or not back to life, but just keeping it alive and giving us so much just flat track content to look at. And we're so thankful for this sport existing. It's created so many amazing memories for me throughout my life as a fan, and just appreciate all you guys coming to check out the channel. You know, I'm certainly not the most accomplished expert when it comes to this or anything for that matter. I'm just a fan who loves the sport and is appreciative of the opportunity and the means to chat about it. And thank you guys for supporting this channel. If you want to follow along with us, obviously we love the subscribe, like, comment, share. Hey, shoot us a thumbs down or tell us you don't like us. That's fine too. I just appreciate you at least giving us a chance. If you want to keep in touch with us off this platform, you can always shoot us an email, flattrackflashback@gmail.com, or follow us on Instagram at flattrackflashback over there. A little less active on there than we are here on the YouTube channel, but thank you guys again for supporting this. And yeah, until the next video, we'll catch you then. Y'all take care, and we love you. Peace.